23% tax on everything that Americans buy?
The answer is yes, for the following reasons. First of all, it replaces the federal income tax. It replaces the FICA tax that's currently being taken out, and we'll still raise the same amount of money. Secondly, the fair tax moves taxation from a decision by the government on your income to a decision made by the consumer based upon their purchase behavior. And so that's one of the biggest advantages. Now, the other big advantage is that we'll raise the same amount of revenue with that 23% because the consumption base is bigger than the income base.
But the Bush Tax Commission, when they looked at it
Yes.
in the last decade, said actually the tax rate you'd have to raise the same amount of revenue is probably about 34%.
That's because they changed the assumptions in the bill. Here's what they did. They went back and tried to create a hybrid of trying to save the mortgage interest deduction because they think that that's like, a pacifier for consumers. No.
And you get rid of that. Get rid of all of it.
All of that will be gone. And they changed the assumptions. That's why they came up with that number. That's why because they tried to create a hybrid. If you look at H.R. 25 and go by the
That's
assumption.
the proposal in the House.
That's the proposal in the House. It's been introduced ever since 1999, and it's still there. Look at what's in the actual legislation and don't change the rules. The 23% will raise the same amount of money.
But here's the problem a lot of conservatives have, which is a political problem. You've got the 16th Amendment, which said you can have the income tax.
Yes.
In order to get rid of the income tax, you probably have to repeal the 16th Amendment. So if you offer a national sales tax without repealing the 16th Amendment, aren't you going to get both?
Nope. In the legislation, there is a clause that says that the fair tax cannot go into effect until the 16th Amendment is repealed. So that puts pressure on the states and on Congress to repeal the 16th Amendment before the fair tax, the national consumption tax, can go into effect.
What makes you think that the American public is ready to hear a candidate and support a candidate who supports what, let's face it, is a very radical change? Because you throw out the entire tax system. When other Republican candidates at the federal level, like Jim DeMint in South Carolina, or certain congressional candidates have supported it, the Democrats have gone after them and say they want to raise the price of everything you buy, your home, your car, by 23%. And it's hurt them. How would you counter that argument?
The difference is I can defend all of the lies, all of the misperceptions, and all of the distortions about the fair tax. And I'm willing to take that battle on. That's the reason why. Because what has happened, it does get demagogued. But then when you explain to the American people that it not only eliminates the withholding tax for both FICA and well as the payroll tax, but that it also eliminates the IRS and the cost that we have there, we will only need to spend 10% of what we spend on the IRS. You know, those people that abuse us and harass us, well, they go away. They'll have to find new jobs. And trust me, they're smart enough to find new jobs.
I guess the other concern that people have is if you impose a tax that size on everything you buy, a lot of people are going to say, you know what, I don't want to pay another 25% on my car. Let's do it on the black market. You drive a lot of those sales underground, and you'll still need somebody like the IRS for enforcement, won't you?
Nope. Here's why. First of all, the 23% is on new goods. So it's not on used cars and used homes or used goods. Yes, but you're going to pay it on everything else. Now, it could cause some people to try and buy it on the black market to get around it.
Sure.
What's happening today? We have probably more underground activity going on today because illegals who do everything on a cash basis, they are not paying taxes. People who come here and visit and do Christmas shopping from overseas, they're not paying any taxes. You've got the illegal activity that goes on in this country. That's money being left on the table. And here's one of the big ones right here. What we spend collectively just to comply and file with the current tax code, $430 billion a year. That works out to the cost to pay $1 in taxes. That works out, according to the analysis by Art Laffer, 30 cents to pay that dollar. The American people could keep that 30 cents.
But Art Laffer's long believed in a flatter system,
Yes.
the flat tax. And
Yes.
a lot of Republicans have proposed that in the past, and some are now. Why? And you know, go for say for a
Right.
top rate of 25%,
Right.
and then a lower rate, say of 10%. You could fiddle with the rates, but something like that. Why not play it more politically safe and go for that? Because you don't have to make the case that you have to repeal the 16th Amendment, which you know is very, very difficult to do.
The reason is if you go with something that's still going to be tax on income and you keep the 16th Amendment, the bureaucrats and politicians can't help themselves. It's going to grow back again. Remember, Reagan reduced down the number of brackets and all of that. Look what it did. It grew right back. Why?
But couldn't you also raise, the politicians will
Yes.
raise the size of the sales
That's
tax?
a possibility. But here's the safeguard. In the legislation, H.R. 25, it requires a supermajority vote of the United States Senate in order to raise it. And I think if they tried to do that and sneak it past the American people, they won't be able to sneak it past. So that's another safeguard. The American people would know. Right now, Paul, lobbyists are able to get tax favors in the bill, and the American people never even know about it. The current tax code allows politicians to select winners and losers. We need to get rid of that. And once we get rid of the tax code, we're going to eliminate 50% of the lobbyists who are trying to get those favors in the tax code.
And you think you can sell this to the Republican primary electorate when Mike Huckabee couldn't do it successfully in 2008? You know, he ran on the fair tax,
Yes, he did.
and he didn't win the nomination.
Here's the difference.
Why is it going to be different?
Here's the difference. First of all, this is Herman Cain. All right, let's start there. I'm proposing a two-phase boost to our economy. Phase one is what we need to do to get things going while I educate and inform the public about the nuances and the advantages of the fair tax. I'm not going to try to do that right away. Phase one
will be a tax cut.
Will be tax cuts. It'll be suspending the tax on foreign profits. It'll be a real payroll tax holiday, and then make those other than the tax holiday, make them permanent so we can remove this uncertainty. So we'll do that in order to boost the economy and then educate the public.
All right, Herman Cain, thanks so much for being here. We're going to be watching this debate.
Thanks, Paul.